I was branded the monster in my own family, punished for crimes I never committed. But when I uncovered the truth they'd buried for years, everything shattered. Now I can't tell if I saved myself or destroyed us all. My parents told the whole family that I was tormenting my disabled sister by walking too loudly. Yeah, that was the crime. Walking. So suddenly I wasn't allowed to just exist in my own house anymore. They made me wear these ridiculous foam slippers, big clunky things that made me look like a cartoon bear. And if that wasn't humiliating enough, they bought these expensive carpet runners and told me I could only walk on those, like I was some kind of zoo exhibit following a designated trail. And you know what? I tried. I really truly tried. I'd take these tiny careful baby steps everywhere, arms out for balance like I was walking a tightrope. My friends started asking what was wrong with me when I tiptoed to answer the door. My boyfriend broke up with me because, in his words, I was acting weird. But no matter what I did, it was never enough for Vanessa. She took it even further. She made an actual laminated schedule of when I was allowed to move around. Not during her focus blocks, she said, like that was totally normal. Except her focus blocks were from 7 in the morning until 11 at night. So basically, 24 hours a day minus the time she slept. If I needed to pee, I had to text my sister for permission. And she kept receipts. Oh, did she keep receipts? She had this massive binder where she documented every single step I took without approval. She downloaded some sound measuring app, recorded my footsteps, and presented it to our parents like I was running a demolition crew in the hallway. The breaking point? She swore that my midnight trip for a glass of water made her fail a college exam. According to her, the vibrations from my walking traveled through the walls, scrambled her memory, and erased everything she'd studied. And my parents, they believed her. They flipped. My dad actually installed motion sensors in the house. My mom dragged my bed out into the garage. The garage will be more private, she said, as if putting me next to gas cans and spiderwebs was a favor. She even tossed me a space heater like that fixed anything. But Vanessa still wasn't satisfied. She had a meltdown on the living room floor, rocking back and forth, sobbing that she could still feel my hostile energy through the walls. Through the walls. And my parents? They called a family meeting and told me I needed to move out, stay with relatives until Vanessa finished the semester. She's abusing her disabled sister, they told everyone. She's refusing to accommodate her. They acted like I was actively trying to sabotage Vanessa's education. That night, they drove me to my aunt's house with 2 garbage bags of clothes. Didn't even let me pack. Just wanted me gone. My aunt had even soundproofed the guest room for me. My uncle handed me the business card of an anger management counselor. Their kids avoided me like I was dangerous. I felt like I was being treated as some unhinged monster, all because of footsteps. But 3 days later, everything changed. I was using my aunt's laptop when I noticed an email receipt for Vanessa's tuition. The number looked off. My gut twisted. The next morning, I called her college pretending to be her, saying I needed enrollment verification for insurance. The woman on the phone pulled up the file and casually said, "I'm not seeing you enrolled since spring of 2023. You were academically dismissed." My heart stopped. 18 months. She hadn't been in school for 18 months. I dug deeper. I asked a friend whose brother went to that university to check. He laughed and said, "Your sister? Everyone knows she got kicked out freshman year. Plagiarism." I just sat there shaking. Everything clicked. The timing of her so-called sensory issues. The endless focus blocks. The dramatic meltdowns to keep me out of the house. It was all a cover. She needed me gone so no one would question why she was home all the time, why the tuition money kept disappearing. When I told my aunt, she immediately put my parents on speaker. "When's the last time you actually saw Vanessa's grades?" she asked. Dead silence. My mom scrambled to log into the parent portal, only to realize the password had been changed years ago. My dad called the bursar's office. $60,000. Gone. All pocketed by Vanessa. And when they confronted her, she turned on me. This is her fault. She overstimulated me on purpose. But this time, nobody was buying it. My parents' spam called me the next day, begging me to come home. I ignored every single call. Good riddance. But then, things got worse. I logged into my own student portal to register for spring classes, and my stomach dropped. Across the screen it said, "Withdrawal requested by student." I froze. Called the registrar in a panic. They confirmed, "Yes, you submitted the withdrawal form last night at 11:47 p.m. Except I didn't. I was asleep at my aunt's. My blood ran cold. I knew instantly who it was. Vanessa. She had hacked into my account and withdrawn me from college. I begged campus security for help, but they brushed me off. "That's a registrar issue. Call back tomorrow." I wanted to scream. Instead, I did the only thing I could, document everything. Screenshots of the confirmation email, the timestamp, even the IP address at the bottom. And guess what? It matched my parents' home computer. Proof that the withdrawal came straight from their house. And I wasn't done uncovering the damage. Later that night, I checked my email settings. Buried deep in the rules was a forwarding address I didn't recognize. Every single email from my college had been rerouted for months. I scrolled through my sent folder and felt sick. There were emails I never wrote. Replies to professors saying I was dropping classes. Messages turning down scholarships. Even one rejecting a paid research position I'd been praying to land. Invitations to join the honor society gone. All forwarded to Vanessa before I could ever see them. By morning, I was sitting outside the registrar's office with my aunt, folders of evidence ready. I showed everything, the emails, the IP addresses, the screenshots. The woman behind the desk frowned sympathetically but said, to reverse a student-initiated withdrawal, you'll need to file a police report for identity theft. And your department head has to sign off. You'll also need to make up any missed coursework. How long do I have? I asked, my voice trembling. She glanced at her screen. 72 hours. After that, your spot in the program is permanently released. You'd have to reapply as a new student. 72 hours. 3 days to save 4 years of education. My aunt didn't waste a second, she drove me straight to the police station. I sat there in front of this officer, pouring out everything, Vanessa's fake ADHD meltdowns, the stolen tuition money, the hacked student account, the withdrawal. He just frowned, tapping his pen on the desk like he didn't quite buy it. Family situations are complicated, he finally said. Sometimes this could be viewed as a domestic matter, not really identity theft. Siblings share passwords. I wanted to scream. She never had my password. She must have reset it, hacked in something. But he just shrugged and handed me a case number, warning it could take weeks before a detective even looked at it. Weeks I didn't have. By 2 o'clock that same day, I was sitting across from my department head. She'd always been kind to me, but now her face was serious, her voice low. You've missed a lot of coursework, she said, scrolling through my file. These emails saying you dropped classes, the missing assignments. I believe you, but on paper it looks bad. My throat felt tight. I can do it. I can catch up. I just need the chance. She studied me for a long, heavy moment. Finally, she leaned back and said, if you can prove you were prevented from attending and complete every missed assignment in 2 weeks, I'll sign off on your readmission. 2 weeks. 4 months of work crammed into 14 days. Nearly impossible, but better than nothing. That night, my aunt spread papers across her kitchen table. We built a timeline, every text Vanessa had sent about the foam slippers, photos of the ridiculous carpet runners, even the receipt for the soundproofing my aunt had installed in her house. She shook her head, whispering, this is abuse. Clear, documented abuse. Then she picked up her phone. I'm calling a friend, she's a lawyer. While she made calls, I remembered Ashley. My best friend had been there through everything, texting me through the chaos in real time. When I called, she answered instantly. Oh my God, I've been worried sick. Your parents told my mom you'd lost it, that you'd attacked Vanessa. I nearly dropped the phone. Ashley, please, do you still have all our texts? Every single one, she said. Why? So I told her. The fake disability. The stolen tuition. The withdrawal. Ashley went silent for a long time. Then, I'm driving down tomorrow. And I'm bringing my laptop. The next morning, my aunt's lawyer friend showed up. Sharp eyes, sharp voice. She flipped through the evidence, occasionally nodding. We have a strong case for the fraud, she said. But I need records of the emotional abuse too. The garage, the movement restrictions, document it all. Ashley rolled in that afternoon like a soldier ready for battle. She carried a thick folder of screenshots, printed texts, even a notarized statement. She'd also saved Vanessa's Instagram stories, the ones showing her at parties and concerts on nights she'd supposedly been crippled by my footsteps. That evidence? Damning. Vanessa at a concert when she claimed she was bedridden. Vanessa at a house party 2 hours after demanding total silence. But what I found next nearly made me faint. I pulled my own credit report for the first time in my life, and there it was. 3 credit cards I'd never opened. $15,000 in debt. All tied to my social security number. My stomach dropped. My hands shook as I dialed the police again. This time they didn't brush me off. Credit card fraud is different, the detective said. That's a felony. We'll be arresting your sister tomorrow. That night, my aunt changed her locks and installed cameras. I know Vanessa, she said grimly. She won't go down quietly. And she was right. The next afternoon, my parents called, screaming into the phone like banshees. You're destroying your sister's life. My mother sobbed. She stole $60,000 and opened credit cards in my name, I snapped. We'll pay for your college, Dad shouted. Every penny. Just drop the charges. My aunt calmly pressed record on her phone. So you're trying to bribe her? She asked. It's not bribery, it's family. Mom wailed. Vanessa made mistakes, but prison isn't the answer. I hung up. Forwarded the recording to the detective. That evening, my department head emailed. She'd reviewed everything and agreed to approve my return as soon as the registrar reversed the withdrawal. Step by step, things were finally falling into place. The next morning, Vanessa was arrested. I didn't see it happen, but apparently she tried to run and got tackled right there in the front yard. Her mugshot hit the internet by lunchtime, mascara streaked, eyes blazing with rage. My phone exploded with messages. Some people cheered me on. Others called me heartless. She's your sister, they said, like that excused everything. Then a text popped up from Daniel, her ex-boyfriend. I have something you need to see, he wrote. We met in a coffee shop near campus. He looked exhausted but determined. He slid his phone across the table. She used to brag about it, he said. Message after message. Vanessa laughing about my foam slippers. Vanessa gloating about convincing our parents I was aggressive. Vanessa sending him fake grade reports she'd made in Photoshop. Why didn't you tell anyone? I whispered. I tried. Your parents said I was just bitter. He forwarded everything to me. More fuel for the prosecutor. That night, my parents showed up at my aunt's house. Dad pounded on the door, Mom sobbing theatrically on the lawn. Open this door. Dad shouted. She's our daughter. The neighbors called the cops. 2 officers arrived, gave my parents a trespassing warning and told them to leave or get arrested. The next morning I marched back into the registrar's office with 36 hours to spare. The same woman from before smiled faintly as she stamped the papers. "You're officially re-enrolled," she said. I almost cried right there. 4 months of coursework to finish in 2 weeks. If I worked 18 hours a day, maybe I could pull it off. But then Vanessa made bail. And immediately went online. She flooded social media with sob stories, posting old childhood pictures of us and writing paragraphs about how I'd turned on her after her ADHD diagnosis. She called me jealous, abusive, cruel. Strangers started sharing her posts. "Disability discrimination is real," they wrote. "Her sister's a monster." Then something unexpected happened. I got an email from Dr. Lauren Reeds, a nationally recognized ADHD specialist. "I've seen your sister's posts," she wrote. "What she's describing isn't consistent with ADHD. Frankly, I'm concerned about the stigma this creates for real patients. Would you allow me to review her claims?" I forwarded that to the lawyer immediately. She practically lit up. Meanwhile, Ashley became my rock. She moved into her living room with me, set up a full-blown homework war room, laptops, printer, stacks of notes, an ocean of energy drinks. She forced me to take breaks, sat beside me through all-nighters, whispered, 18 hours down, 6 to go, at midnight. Professors bent deadlines when they saw my evidence. Some even cheered me on. But it was brutal. My eyes stung. My fingers cramped. I dreamed in citations and formulas. On day 10, Ashley brought reinforcements, 3 classmates from my program. "Nobody should lose their education because of family abuse," one said. They rotated shifts, proofreading, making coffee, coaching me through the hardest assignments. By day 11 I was broken. My brain felt like sludge. But the stack of completed assignments kept growing. Hope felt real again. Then, at 9 o'clock that night, my phone buzzed. An Instagram DM. From an account I didn't know, Butterfly Girl 2024. My stomach twisted as I read it. "You think you won? I'll destroy you. Drop the charges or I'll make what happened before look like nothing. I know everything about you. Every password. Every secret. This isn't over." The threats. The style. The obsession with my passwords. It was Vanessa. And she wasn't even supposed to be contacting me. That was a direct violation of her bail conditions. I screenshotted everything and sent it to the prosecutor. Within the hour, the detective called. "She violated bail. We're bringing her in tonight." And just like that, Vanessa was back in jail. This time? No bail. 2 days later, I submitted my last assignment with 24 hours left on the clock. Ashley and I sat staring at the confirmation email from my professor, for months of work completed in 14 days. "You did it," she whispered. But I was too exhausted to celebrate. All I wanted was sleep. The very next afternoon, my parents' lawyer reached out. They'd hired someone expensive, someone who wanted to resolve the family matter without dragging it further. So we went. The lawyer sat across from me in his sleek office, oozing sympathy. "Your parents are prepared to make you whole," he said, sliding a check across the desk. $200,000. "In exchange, you drop all charges and sign this non-disclosure agreement." I looked at the check. I looked him dead in the eye. "No." He blinked. "Perhaps you don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I cut in. "They want to buy their way out of accountability." 2 hours later, we were standing in court. 2 hours later, we were back in court. And this time, it wasn't about me testifying. No, my parents had filed for a restraining order against me. Against me. They claimed I was harassing them, that I was some threat to Vanessa's mental health. The judge raised his eyebrows as he read their petition. He didn't even try to hide his disbelief. Then he looked at our side, the photos of the garage where I'd been forced to sleep, the receipts for motion sensors they'd installed, the recording of them trying to bribe me to drop the case. "This restraining order is denied," the judge said flatly. Then he turned on my parents, voice sharp. "And frankly, Mr. and Mrs. Coleman, you're lucky you're not being charged yourselves for witness tampering." My parents didn't look at me as they left. They just walked out, heads down. That same afternoon, I got calls from all 3 credit card companies. Their fraud teams had finished their investigations. The debt wasn't mine, it would be erased. But the damage to my credit score? That was going to haunt me for years. No apartment would rent to me. No car loan. No financial aid. Nothing. Ashley didn't even hesitate. "I've got a spare room," she said. "My roommate just moved out. Come live with me." 3 days later, Dr. Reeds called. She'd spent hours evaluating Vanessa in jail. Her voice was calm but heavy. "Your sister shows no signs of ADHD, she said. However, she does present clear indicators of antisocial personality disorder. And these claims, vibrations scrambling her brain, footsteps erasing her memory? Medically impossible. I'll testify to that." I should have felt vindicated. But honestly, I felt hollow. A part of me had hoped there was a medical explanation, that maybe Vanessa wasn't just cruel, that there was something deeper. But no. She'd been lying, manipulating, destroying, because she chose to. The very next morning, I handed in my last makeup assignment with 1 day left to spare. My GPA held strong at 3.8. One of my professors pulled me aside and said, "I've watched you fight your way through this. I'd like you on my research team next semester." Paid work. Finally, some income. Finally, a future that felt like mine. But Vanessa wasn't done. The prosecutor called. She's been offered a plea deal. 2 years probation, community service, and full restitution if she pleads guilty. And Vanessa's answer? She refused. She wanted a trial. Said she was going to prove that I drove her to it. The news ripped through my family like a wildfire. Half of them turned on me overnight. "You're sending your sister to prison," one uncle screamed over the phone. "She's sick, she needs treatment, not jail," cousins texted. But others? They finally spoke up. My mom's sister admitted she'd always suspected something was wrong. My dad's brother volunteered to testify about Christmas dinner, the one where Vanessa bragged about having the whole family wrapped around her finger. I stopped answering calls unless it was my aunt or the legal team. Ashley became my practice partner. We'd sit in her living room, her playing prosecutor. "Why didn't you call the police when they moved you to the garage?" she asked. I swallowed hard. Because I thought it was my fault. I thought I really was too loud. "Again," she said. "Answer without apologizing for existing." We drilled for hours until I could tell the story without my voice breaking. 2 weeks before trial, my parents tried again, this time through my aunt. They dangled money in front of me, tuition, therapy, even a new car. All I had to do was drop the charges. Vanessa, they said, was suicidal in jail. I called the prosecutor immediately. "That's witness tampering," she snapped. "I'll handle it." The judge issued a formal warning, one more stunt like that and my parents themselves would be facing charges. I also started therapy that week. The counselor specialized in family trauma, in helping victims of gaslighting. "You were systematically abused," she said after I told her about the garage, the walking rules, the laminated schedules. The footsteps were just the visible tip. This started years earlier. She was right. Looking back, Vanessa had always been spinning the narrative. Always twisting reality. Every conflict became my fault. I'd been trained to doubt my own memory, my own instincts. A week before trial, Vanessa's public defender filed a motion for my medical records, claiming I had mental health issues that made me unreliable. The judge only allowed records from the relevant period. The only thing they found? Notes about insomnia from sleeping in the garage. "Your records actually help us," the prosecutor said. Then Daniel, Vanessa's ex, brought out a box of evidence I hadn't even known existed. Receipts of her buying luxury bags the same day I got shoved into the garage. Screenshots of her bragging about getting a free ride. Even a video of her laughing at a party about making me wear foam slippers. "I kept everything," he said. "I knew one day the truth would matter." The day before trial, I officially moved in with Ashley. We spent the morning hanging photos, making the space feel like mine. For the first time in months, I had a home that felt safe. That evening, Vanessa's friends drove by slowly, phones out, taking pictures of the building. Ashley just crossed her arms, security cameras rolling. "Let them try something," she said. "We're ready." That night, my mom sent one last email. A long, messy ramble about how I was destroying the family legacy, how she'd failed as a mother, how she always had suspicions about Vanessa but wanted to believe her. But not once did she apologize for making me sleep in a garage. The next morning, the college paper broke the story. Court filings had gone public. My phone blew up with messages from classmates. She cheated off me in biology. She stole my laptop and swore I lost it. She told everyone I was stalking her when I caught her lying about honor society. Story after story of lies, manipulation, and cruelty. The prosecutor added everyone to her file. Trial day came gray and drizzling. I wore the most professional thing I owned, hands trembling, heart pounding. Ashley drove me to the courthouse, gripping my hand. "You've got this. Just tell the truth." The first shock came during jury selection. Vanessa stood up, chin high, and declared, "I'll be representing myself." The judge blinked. "Miss Coleman, that's strongly inadvisable. You're facing serious charges." "No one knows my truth better than me," she said, defiant. And so, unbelievably, he allowed it. Day 2, I took the stand. For 4 hours, I told it all. The foam slippers. The carpet runners. The laminated schedule. The garage. The forged emails. The hacked portal. The credit cards. My voice held steady. Vanessa kept interrupting. "Objection. She's lying." The judge glared. "Miss Coleman, you cannot object to testimony. You'll have your chance." When I explained how I discovered she'd been expelled 18 months earlier, Vanessa exploded. "You ruined everything," she screamed. "Everything was perfect until you dug around." The judge threatened to have her removed. Then came her cross-examination. She strutted up holding papers like they were weapons. "Isn't it true you walked loudly on purpose?" "No. I walked in my own home." "But you admit you walked." "Yes. In my own home." She spun toward the jury like she just cracked the case wide open. "She admits it." The jury just looked confused. "Isn't it true you were jealous of my success?" She snapped. "You were expelled for plagiarism," I said. "I wasn't asking about that." She snapped back, fumbling. In her desperation, she admitted to changing my passwords. To forwarding my emails. Even to pocketing some of the tuition. Ashley testified next, scrolling through our text threads on the big screen. The jury saw everything, my confusion, my fear, my slow realization in real time. Daniel followed with his receipts and messages. Dr. Reeds explained clinically why Vanessa's symptoms were medically impossible. By day 3, my parents were on the stand. They tried to downplay it all. But the prosecutor had their receipts. Motion sensors, garage heaters, bribe recordings. Dad admitted he'd never once seen Vanessa have a sensory episode. Mom admitted she never checked her actual enrollment. By day 4, it was Vanessa's turn. And it was a train wreck. She accused me of being jealous since childhood, admitted she'd taken the money but insisted she deserved it. She tried to spin clothes and vacations as mental health necessities. She dug herself deeper and deeper. The jury only deliberated 2 hours. Guilty? On all counts. Vanessa screamed that I was dead to her as the bailiffs dragged her away. My parents walked out without a word. And me? I didn't feel victorious. I just felt empty. Ashley drove me home. Outside, people were living their ordinary lives, grabbing coffee, walking dogs, laughing. And I sat there in silence, feeling like I was stuck on the outside of normal life looking in. You did the right thing, Ashley whispered. I nodded. But the words felt hollow. Right and wrong felt far too simple for what had just happened. For the next week, I moved like a ghost, class, research job, dinners with Ashley. Life kept moving, but I felt detached, watching it all through foggy glass. Then the sentencing hearing came. The sentencing hearing fell on a gray Thursday morning. I wore the same professional outfit I'd worn at trial, but this time my hands didn't shake. Across the courtroom, Vanessa stood in an orange jumpsuit. Her hair hung limp against her face, dark circles shadowing her eyes. No makeup. No performance. Just the raw truth of who she was. The judge reviewed the charges one by one: fraud, identity theft, credit card fraud, witness intimidation, each carrying years of prison time. Then he looked at Vanessa. Miss Coleman, he said, do you have anything to say before sentencing? She straightened her back, chin lifted like she was still on stage. Yes. My sister destroyed this family out of jealousy. I only took that money for medical treatment. She refused to accommodate my disability, and now she's sending me to prison for being sick. Her voice rang out, but the judge didn't so much as blink. Miss Coleman, he said, tone sharp as a knife, multiple experts testified you have no disability requiring accommodation. You stole over $75,000. You attempted to sabotage your sister's future, her education, her life. This court sentences you to 3 years in state prison, with mandatory restitution of all stolen funds plus damages. I hope you use that time to reflect. The gavel came down. Vanessa turned to me, eyes burning. You destroyed this family. I hope you're happy. Then the bailiffs led her away. I glanced at the back row. My parents were there, Mom crying silently, Dad's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle twitch. They left without saying a word. The next morning, Ashley took me to the phone store. I watched as 10 years of my number disappeared from the screen. Starting fresh. Necessary, like closing a locked door behind me. I blocked my parents everywhere, email, social media, even LinkedIn. My aunt helped me file restitution paperwork, warning me it would take decades. Prison wages are about $1 an hour, she explained. But it wasn't about the money. It was about accountability. 2 weeks later, my aunt forwarded me a letter. My parents were selling the house, moving to Florida to start over. They were pouring everything into an appeal lawyer for Vanessa. The letter blamed me, said I'd chosen revenge over family. That they'd pray for my soul. I dropped it in the trash without even finishing it. Life moved forward. My research job focused on memory formation in trauma victims. The irony wasn't lost on me, but the work mattered. My professor told me one afternoon, your attention to detail is exceptional. I wanted to tell him it came from years of cataloging Vanessa's lies, but I just said thank you. Spring semester blurred past in research, classes, therapy sessions. Therapy helped me face the guilt that crept in during quiet moments. Guilt is common in abuse victims, my therapist said. You were trained to put your sister's needs above your own safety. That conditioning doesn't disappear overnight. Sometimes I'd wake up in the night, heart racing, certain I'd heard footsteps overhead, until I remembered. I lived on the top floor now. There were no footsteps above me. 2 months later, Vanessa's appeal was denied. The evidence was too strong. She was transferred to a state women's facility 3 hours away. Her old friends started reaching out. Some apologized. We should have known, one admitted. But trust was something I couldn't hand out freely anymore. With my therapist's help, I wrote a victim impact statement for the restitution hearing. We documented every piece: the garage, the lost semester, the destroyed credit, the therapy bills. The judge ordered Vanessa to pay $100,000 total: tuition, debt, damages. At prison wages, it would take decades. But again, this wasn't about the money. A TV producer even called, offering good money for a documentary about sibling fraud. Your story could help so many, she said. But I shook my head. No. I need to move forward, not backward. She called 3 more times before finally giving up. May arrived. Final exams. Graduation. Ashley picked out my cap and gown, fussing over pictures even when I didn't feel like celebrating. You earned this, she told me. My aunt, uncle, Ashley, even Daniel came to cheer when I walked across the stage, my honors cord brushing against the gown. The seats where my parents should have been stayed empty. I tried not to look at them. The very next morning, an email changed everything. Acceptance into a graduate program across the country. Full scholarship. Research assistantship. A chance at a clean slate. Take it, Ashley said immediately. You need this. I accepted that afternoon. 6 weeks later, my aunt called with news: my grandmother had died. The funeral was Thursday. But my parents had already told everyone I wasn't welcome. Their excuse? That I'd joined a cult. A cult. That was their story. Easier to swallow than the truth. Vanessa was granted supervised release to attend. My cousin sent me photos, her in a black dress and ankle monitor, sobbing at the graveside while my parents held her like the victim she still pretended to be. The family gathered around, playing along as if none of it had happened. I stayed home, flipping through old pictures of Grandma instead. The first restitution check came a week later. $5,000. Barely a fraction of what was owed, but something. I used part for therapy, part for moving costs, and tucked the rest into savings. By August it was time to go. Ashley helped me load a trailer with everything I owned. We tried not to cry. "You'll visit," she promised. But we both knew it would never be the same. The drive cross-country took 4 days. Motels, truck stop meals, watching the landscape transform until everything was unfamiliar. With each mile I felt the weight on my chest grow lighter. Grad school was demanding, but in the best way. My new roommate rambled about plant biology, about lab experiments. The second week she laughed and said, "You're so quiet, it's like you're not even here." I froze. Then forced myself to walk louder, heel to toe, letting each step echo. It felt awkward, wrong, but also freeing. It took months to feel natural again. 3 months in, a letter arrived. Vanessa's handwriting on the envelope. My stomach twisted. Inside, 3 pages of her neat cursive. She forgave me for betraying her. She said I'd been manipulated into testifying. She hoped someday I'd visit her, so she could extend her forgiveness in person. Not a single word of apology. Not a single acknowledgement of what she'd done. I burned it in a Bunsen burner during a late-night lab session. Watched the paper curl and blacken until nothing was left but ash. December brought another letter, but this time from my parents. A Christmas card. Inside, a check for $1,000. "We'll always love you despite everything," it read. "Someday you'll understand family is more important than being right." I stared at that check for a long time. $1,000 could help. But taking it would feel like admitting they were right. Like erasing my truth. So I donated it to a domestic abuse shelter. Sent them the receipt. No note attached. Spring semester started. I began teaching undergrad biology labs. Standing in front of 18-year-olds explaining mitosis, watching them doodle in notebooks, it felt surreal. One afternoon in March, a girl lingered after class. She fidgeted, eyes down. "My sister says my breathing makes her sick," she whispered. "My parents want me to move into the basement." My chest tightened. That look in her eyes, confusion tangled with self-doubt, I knew it too well. "That's not normal," I said gently. "Breathing doesn't make people sick." She started to cry. "But she has anxiety. The doctor says I need to be supportive." I gave her resources on gaslighting, on documenting abuse, on the campus counseling center. "Someone believes me," she whispered. "I believe you," I told her. She walked out with her shoulders just a little straighter. That afternoon, I walked back to my office with heavy, deliberate steps. My boots struck the floor hard, echoing through the hallway. A colleague looked up, startled. "Didn't hear you coming, you're usually so quiet." "Not anymore," I said. And I kept walking. Louder. Stronger. Every step a declaration, I exist. I take up space. I will never be silenced again. If you enjoyed today's drama, just imagine what's waiting in the next one. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go find the next train wreck together. Thanks for watching.